Farah Pahlavi was the last queen and empress of Iran. For 20 years, she was on the throne and bathed in luxury. But in 1979, after the Iranian Revolution, she had to flee the country with her husband and children under the threat of a death sentence. Since then, her life has completely changed. Where is she now? And how does she look 44 years later? The life story of Farah Pahlavi is very fascinating, as it is full of unexpected turns and many different events, both joyful and sad. In general, her life can be divided into two large parts. For the first 40 years, she lived in her homeland, Iran. Then, she had to settle abroad because it was dangerous for her to return home. She had to endure significant losses, struggle with difficulties, and learn to live again. That's why her story is so interesting. Farah was not born into a royal family. Her relatives did not have royal blood and most likely did not dream of becoming related to the emperor. However, her story is far from being like the fairy tale of Cinderella. Farah's family was wealthy and noble. In the late 19th century, her grandfather had been a diplomat, serving as the Persian ambassador to the Romanov court in St. Petersburg, Russia. Her father was an officer in the Imperial Iranian Armed Forces. However, the family had difficulty financially after the father's death. Under these circumstances, they left their large family home north of Tehran and settled in a small apartment. It must be admitted that in the 50s, Iran was a reasonably progressive state regarding women's rights and education. Many Iranian students, including girls, could study abroad using funds from the state fund. Farah was one of the girls who went to study in Paris. She was first educated at the French Jeanne d'Arc School until age 16 and later at the Lycée Razi. The girl also studied architecture at the École Spéciale d'Architecture in Paris. In her youth, she was also an athlete and captain of the basketball team. In those days, the Iranian Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi often visited foreign countries and met with Iranian students who studied at public expense. In 1959, the Shah visited Paris and met with students at the Iranian embassy. Among the students was 21-year-old Farah. The Shah was 20 years older than her, and he had already had 2 unsuccessful marriages then. His first wife, Princess Fawzia of Egypt, gave birth to a daughter, but they divorced due to personal differences. The second wife, Queen Soraya, could not have children, so they had to separate because the country needed male heirs. That's why in 1959, 40-year-old Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was looking for a new wife. Of course, his chosen one had to be, first of all, young and healthy to give birth to heirs. Farah was perfect for this role. She was beautiful, educated, from a good family. The romance between the student and the Iranian Shah developed quickly. In the summer of 1959, she returned to Tehran. In November, they announced their engagement. On December 20th of the same year, their luxurious wedding took place. This event was widely covered in the world press. The bride looked chic in a dress designed by Yves Saint Laurent, then a designer at the House of Dior. The wedding tiara was ordered from the famous U.S. jeweler Harry Winston. It contained 325 diamonds and weighed 2 kilograms or 4.4 pounds. The groom was dressed in a traditional military uniform. Their significant age difference was visible. At the same time, everyone understood that the success of this union depended only on whether Farah could give birth to male heirs. The king was not marrying a princess. He was not giving in to the convention of arranged marriages between families of royal blood. No, he had fallen in love with a little Iranian girl, and as in fairy tales, he was going to follow his heart. Farah Pahlavi wrote in her memoirs many years later, "A year after the wedding, the new queen of Iran gave birth to a son, Prince Reza Pahlavi. What happiness it was! The first child turned out to be a boy. 3 years later, their daughter, Princess Farah Pahlavi, was born. Then the second boy, Prince Ali Reza Pahlavi, appeared. In March 1970, the couple welcomed their 4th child, Princess Layla Pahlavi. No one ever expected Queen Farah Pahlavi to be involved in critical state affairs. All that was required of her was to give birth to heirs, to be a wife and mother. The first time after the wedding, she was mainly involved in family affairs. However, after the prince's birth, she devoted more time to other activities. Like many other queens, she often participated in various ceremonies. She often attended the openings of educational and medical institutions. The queen was excluded from politics. She was more interested in education, health, culture, and social problems. She could influence her husband in these areas. At the same time, the queen once had a conflict with her husband's twin sister, Princess Ashraf, who was her rival. Queen Farah Pahlavi asked her husband to reduce his sister's influence. Gradually, Farah Pahlavi became one of the most prominent figures in the imperial government. She was engaged in humanitarian work and patronized 24 education, medicine, and culture organizations. Queen Farah was perfect for the role of the country's first lady. She had an impeccable dressing style, spoke different languages, and defended women's rights. Foreign journalists called her the Eastern Jackie Kennedy and followed her every move. She also loved art and collected masterpieces from all over the world. The Queen put her significant patronage behind the Tehran Museum of Contemporary Art. Thanks to her, the museum has amassed an enormous collection, which is Farah Pahlavi's outstanding achievement. Farah Pahlavi was very visible in a region where a woman's life is usually hidden from the public. She traveled around the country to meet her compatriots in cities and villages. She also appeared on magazine covers. That's why she was called the Working Empress. The 20 years that Queen Farah Pahlavi spent on the throne were happy. The husband and wife adored each other and their 4 children. They also lived in luxury. In 1967, the Shah proclaimed himself Emperor or King of Kings and his wife Empress. Their luxurious coronation ceremony took place at a palace in Tehran. The Shah officially named his wife regent if he died or became incapacitated before the crown prince's 21st birthday. The appointment of a woman as regent was highly unusual for the Muslim monarchy. In 1971, the imperial family hosted a 2,500-year celebration of the Persian Empire, which brought together the elite from around the world. It was an incredible celebration, the purpose of which was to show the strength and wealth of the Iranian monarchy. However, this event caused great discontent among ordinary residents of the country, who were highly dissatisfied with the emperor's wastefulness. Gradually, discontent grew in Iran and led to a revolution in 1979. The Shah of Iran, his wife, children, and other family members had to go abroad. The Shah of Iran and his family had to wander the world for a long time as the new revolutionary government of Iran ordered their extradition, arrest, and execution. A year after his exile, the deposed Iranian Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi died of illness and was buried in Egypt. His wife and children took refuge in the United States. Since then, a new life began for Farah Pahlavi. Accustomed to life in the palace and receiving honors in her native country, she became an ordinary woman abroad. However, she continued to be respected. The former queen continues to be a guest of honor at critical royal events. She is also actively involved in charity. In 2001, Farah Pahlavi lost her youngest daughter. Princess Layla was found dead in a hotel in London. Her blood showed elevated levels of the drugs she was dependent on. Princess Layla was buried next to her grandmother in Paris. After her daughter's death, Farah Pahlavi settled in Potomac, Maryland, near Washington, D.C., to be closer to her son and grandchildren. In 2011, her youngest son, Ali Reza Pahlavi, took his own life in Boston. It is difficult to imagine what grief it is for a mother to bury her children. However, she had to survive this blow too. "What happened was so hard," she says. "I thought, I have to be strong for my other 2 children, for Reza and Faranaz, and for my grandchildren, but also for the many other mothers in Iran who have suffered the same loss." In 2003, the former queen wrote a memoir about her life with the Shah, An Enduring Love, My Life with the Shah. The publication aroused great international interest. It was a bestseller in Europe. National Review's Reza Bayegan, an Iranian writer, praised the memoir as abounding with affection and sympathy for her countrymen. Today, Farah Pahlavi is 85 years old. She currently has 3 granddaughters through her son, Reza Pahlavi, Crown Prince of Iran, and his wife Yasmin. Farah Pahlavi also has 1 granddaughter through her late son, Ali Reza Pahlavi. After the death of her husband, Farah Pahlavi never remarried. Every year, she goes to Egypt to visit his grave and remembers him with great love. Today, Farah Pahlavi lives in a luxurious apartment in America. Even though she hasn't been to Iran for 44 years, she still worries about events in her home country. Farah Pahlavi is outraged that women and many others are deprived of their rights in modern Iran. I believe in freedom for women to have equal rights, the right to work, the right to hold high positions, the right to take custody of their children after divorcing, she says. Thoughts about her homeland break her heart. Iran has so much poverty and tyranny that was never seen in her time. Light will overcome the darkness, and Iran will rise from her ashes. They should keep strong, she added. I honor the International Women's Day with the memory of lost women and sympathize with wounded, imprisoned women, mourning mothers, and all the freedom-loving women of our country. I do not doubt that the leading and tireless Iranian women will achieve their desires and regain their honorable position, she wrote on Instagram. Farah Pahlavi's life is like a Hollywood movie script. There were so many different events in it. A young girl who met great love, settled in a palace, found herself in exile, and lost everything. The only thing she has today is hope. She hopes that one day Iran will be free. And even if she doesn't get to see this moment, perhaps her grandchildren will. Do you believe it? Thanks for watching. Remember to share your thoughts with me, click like, and subscribe. See you next time.